Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the 219th. This is just an introductory video to help you get your gear squared away. We're going to give you some examples of equipment that you can use, demonstrations of how to put them on. These are just examples. You do not have to use this exact equipment. We will be also demonstrating some other items that you can use for these costumes. We'll be led by Alex Sawyer, call sign Spikes. Equipment being demonstrated by Rose Meyer, call sign Pocket Ninja, and myself, Evan Morgan, call sign Longbow. Rose and I will be departing to the gear room, while Alex heads over to the tech room to get set up. Thank you very much.
Alright guys, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the backstory of the 219th. This started about 5 years ago with myself when I got tired of a lot of the elitists of costuming and the cannon fodder, if you will, people telling you how you had to do things, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do something custom. I had a couple of people that joined me, and then I lost a couple of people because they weren't really into costuming. About 3 years ago, I met some of our original members, Adam Gilley, Jessica Curtis. They jumped in here and we started something really cool. It really started to jump off. You met Evan earlier. He was one of our originals. Kevin Can. Some of these guys really started putting things together. We became pretty popular around some of the club scenes and things like that, slowly working our way into conventions, and when we finally made our way to MegaCon, we were a big hit. We've gained some notoriety over the time, and we're on our way up and up to new and bigger cons. That being said, it's important to know who we are and where we're from. The beginning of the 219th started with a backstory with something interesting that was completely customizable and unique to everything else. We do not technically exist inside of the game universe nor the movie universe. We're more towards the game universe than we are the movie universe because, let's face it, if we're going by the movie universe, the world doesn't exist anymore. That's all been wiped out. In the games, we still have stuff to fight for. So, to tell you who the 219th are, we'll be back in just a second. So the backstory that we ultimately ended up creating was something a little different from everything in the canon. We wanted to make ourselves unique and stand out in the world. We are not UBCS, which is a group of mercenaries that work for the company, nor are we USS, but we're probably a little closer to the USS because we are special forces. We're kind of, we're Umbrella's little dirty secret that they keep hidden away. When something's got to get cleaned up, we go clean it up. I always tell people we're like the janitors of the Umbrella Corporation. You make a mess, we clean it up. It's just that simple. What we are is a group of genetically modified super soldiers. They found a way to make the T-virus work in certain people who have similar genetic markers. And it took about 219 tries, thus the 219th, because the 219 serum was the 219th attempt at making this work. There were a lot of dead bodies and a lot of other messes that were made before us, until it started working with this specific genetic marker which we all share, if you will. So, all of us have different backstories, and we encourage those backstories. Everybody to encourage their customization and to use their imagination within this group, because it's a lot of fun to do that. It's not just a costume that you wear, it's something you want to be a part of. This is something you want to commit to, and we want you to commit to, and we want you to show who you are in your gear. So, that being said, one of the things that you'll have to have in your gear is your virus dosage. Because us as soldiers, we have to stay on this at all times. Otherwise, that infection that's running rampant through our systems is going to send us over the edge. We are living BOWs. That's our job. Alright guys, so now that you know who we are, let's talk a little bit about our gear. Like I said, when you're in gear, you're going to need a dosage dispenser. One of the earliest ways that we started doing that was modding masks so that you could do it. You can breathe it. We've got people though in our group that don't have the ability to actually wear masks due to asthma or other things, other conditions that are involved. So we decided to amend that after a while that says that you just have to have a way that you can get your dosage while you're in the field. So some of the ways to do that that I don't have examples of with me are, say, an inhaler, or if you want to do, say, a shoulder pad or something that you can put a couple of vials on that have tubes that run into your arm. Maybe you're taking a direct injected dose. These are just a couple of different ideas you can run with. But with things that I do have examples of today, I'm going to go ahead and show you some of these. One of the first things that we did were half-face respirator masks. These are basically 3M masks that we've modded. This was my first one ever. This was made by a friend of mine, Catfish, who built this for me. He did a great job, and a lot of people have been doing it ever since. So, this is my Spikes mask, my Point Man mask. It just sits there, and you wear it straight over the face. Straight over the face like that. You pull it behind the head. When you have a half-face mask like this, you're going to want to do some other headgear. Some of the potential ideas for other headgear are you could wear a ball cap like this. You could do a scout cap. You could do other things like that. Maybe you want to do a bandana. Maybe you want to rock a mohawk. I often do that when I'm doing my light gear. Some other things, you could do a helmet. This is a skater helmet that's been transitioned, but a lot of special ops groups use a Kevlar helmet like this, and there's a lot of different styles of helmets out there that can be used. As long as you're not going super goofy and it works as kind of a military thing, feel free to use stuff like this. Take things, repurpose them. That's what we're all about. Another thing that we say, if you're wearing a helmet, try to wear something, some goggles over the eyes. Kind of want to be an anonymous unit, if you will, so goggles are a good thing. I can't see personally, so when I do things, I have a set of prescription sunglasses that I wear with my light gear at all times. Unfortunately, when I do my heavy, I tend to be blind as a bat. Some of the other options that we have are full face gas masks. One of these, this is really moddable. These are actually fairly expensive though. This is another 3M respirator. These cost a couple $100 sometimes, but they have a lot of potential for modding. You could run a ring of lights around the end, which is great. It's a little difficult when you're in a dark space, because when you're in there all you see is light and then you don't see the wall, which is difficult. However, if you're in a well-lit convention, this can come off pretty well. You've got these ports on the side. You could run tubes to a different, to a separate canister where you're supposedly getting your dosage from, if you will, things like that. But this has potential. Another thing is, take one of these, take a paintball mask, something like this. You can mod this. It's Kevlar face shield, if you will. You want to look for something that's got the fog, anti-fog on the lenses, because otherwise you spend more time taking them off and scrubbing them off so that you can see where you're going. But this, for instance, has a lot of potential. One of the things, you could take one of the half-face respirators and actually put that right on the front of this, which is what one of our guys has been discussing, but you could make something kind of like that. It's just an idea. It's something to go with. You can also attach filters, darken up the lenses so people can't see your face, add a can, add some hoses. There's all kinds of directions to go with stuff like this. Another option that our guys use, other than a full face gas mask or something like that, are these helmets. Our heavy troopers wear these. These were actually fabricated by Josh Cole from Hex Mortis Design Syndicate. He's a pretty close friend. I'm sure if some of you guys reached out to him with some ideas, he would happily work on them. They can be a bit pricey. When you're committing to this costume, sometimes things are going to cost you some money. This was specifically designed for Adam Gilly and I with our first two heavy suits. We basically went to him and I said, hey man, I want something that's biological, I want something that's a full head, and I want something that's a gas mask, and this is the beautiful face that he gave us. So that's that. Another option that's still kind of a work in progress that we have right now is another helmet. This is also by Hex Mortis Design Syndicate, but this was built for something else, but it's still moddable. It's still something you can do different with. These are all ideas that you can run with. That being said, we're going to start talking about gear in a second here, so we'll be right back with that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is identification. As far as who you are and what you're going to wear on your unit, kind of flair, if you will, but not so TGI Fridays. One of the things that we do is you have your corporate image and your corporate emblem of the Umbrella Corporation, which, you know, pretty standard. It's on this hat right here. We as a group identify ourselves as a member of the company, but we're a specialty unit, so we do identify ourselves with our own gear and with our own private look and styles. This is another example of a piece of headgear. We had these beret flashes made up a while ago, and sometimes they show up. Maybe you can find one from some people if you want to do them on a beret. You can do them on a scout cap like this. It's a great way to show things off. When you've got the front of your gear, one of the acceptable ways to wear this is to have the Umbrella Corporation, one of these rectangular patches. It's good for on a chest, something like that, something simple. You don't want to overdo it with these umbrella patches. That's one thing I'm going to stress right now, because we have a problem, and you look at some of these other costumers that are out there that have an umbrella on this shoulder, an umbrella on this shoulder, an umbrella right here, and a gigantic umbrella on their back, and then they've got it on their hat, and they've got 6 on their gun, and they've got 2 on their legs, and they've got 1 on every single pouch that's on their suit. That's not how we roll. That's not how we want to do it. We try to keep to a semi-subtle thing. So for a standard operating procedure with this group, the easiest way to think about it is this. It's okay to have one on your headgear, on your hat, maybe etch one into the side of a helmet, something like that's fine. Maybe have it on the side of your rifle on the receiver area or on the magazine of one of your pistols. I'll show you those areas later on. Another way is on your left shoulder, a corporate patch is good. A standard corporate umbrella like you saw on that first hat, that is the best way to do it on that shoulder. Now on your right shoulder, you're going to want to have something that's kind of like our actual patch. This is one of ours here that you could put it right here on the shoulder. It's the same one that's on my hat. Now once you have this on this shoulder, you can actually use what we're creating now is another patch that's going to actually be basically your designation. So medic, sniper, engineer, recon, one of those, and then you put that underneath it. It's going to be just underneath that patch. Now on your back, for those of you that wear light gear and want to wear something like that, we're actually getting rid of the old UBCS, said it right that time. We got rid of the old UBCS, the old logos, so that we can have something a little more us. It's going to be similar to it, but it's actually going to have our skull logo on top of the umbrella with the word umbrella at the bottom, so you can put that emblazoned on your back if you choose to wear it. It's not a prerequisite. You do not have to wear that, but if you choose to, you can. Another thing that you can do with the back is you can take some of these name tapes. I have one on my light gear. This is Longbow's here that goes on his light gear. Of course, you stick it directly across the top of the back here so that it sits like that over the top of your back morale patch, or your back rocker patch, if you will. There's also examples of smaller name tapes. This is Pocket Ninjas. She carries it on a bag. You can put it on your chest if you want to, instead of having the corporate patch. Just a way to identify yourself, because your call sign is who you are. That makes your identity in this. So while I've got you guys here in accessories and stuff, talking about patches and things, one of the important things that you should carry is you don't want your legs to seem too naked and bare. You'll probably find a few pictures that we can show off while we're talking about that, and you guys can get a chance to see some of the other stuff that goes on it, because you'll see things drop leg holsters. This is an example of one of my drop leg holsters. I carry it on all of my gear, both light and heavy. I've got a couple of tactical knives in there. These are training knives. Of course, you see that orange on them again, because that orange is important. It says that they're fake. Can't carry real knives very often. They frown upon it, or unless they're piece bonded into something, which is an important thing for us to do. But these are training knives, so I can keep them out naked. They're fake. If I want to pose for a picture, I can pull them out and they look kind of cool. Another thing on it is just, this is a simple pouch. It's on the side of it. Again, this is all Molly Rig stuff, which you guys will hear about in a little bit. This is just a pouch. You carry your ID, carry your wallet, you carry everything, because sometimes it's not always easy to get to your pockets. I carry this one on my left leg. Now usually on your right leg, you can carry a drop leg pistol holster, which is the other thing that I carry and most people should carry, because it just keeps that, it fills in that space on your gear. It fills in that area so you don't look like you're just naked all the time. Another thing that we like to carry around is a lot of us have ID badges. We kind of want to do a uniformed ID badge at some point, and if you'd like to get a uniformed ID badge, you can talk to Adam Gilley. Send him a message, he'll tell you what you need to do to get this, and he'll tell you how much it costs, and you can get one. You send him a photo, you give him a bunch of numbers, and the next thing you know, you get a super professional, awesome thing. You can keep it in a laminate thing. You can clip it on your belt. You can keep it as a prop that's in your car. You can do whatever you want with this, but it's just one of those extra pieces of flash that we like to have on our gear. Next, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about weapons, so I'll be right back with that. Alright guys, the next thing we're going to talk about is weapons. Weapons are one of our essential pieces to your costume. You want this to really make a statement about who you are. If you're a door breach guy, you want a shotgun. If you're a sniper, you want a sniper rifle. You don't want to have 2 pistols and say that you're the sniper of the group. It's not going to work. You've got to make sure that your weapons account for what your idea is inside of the 219th and how you want it to match up to your costume. It's very important. I can't stress that enough. Now there's a lot of different ways to do weapons. The primary one that we like to use is airsoft because it gets there quickly. But I'm going to start with some of the heavier stuff first. I'm going to start with the grenades. There's no pin in this. No. This is actually a grenade that I made out of a ball that goes on the end of a sign, and I decided to spray paint it black. We're going to put some logos on it. I'm going to wrap a coil pin around it, and you can see it looks like a grenade, but it's safe. One of the key things that's going to go with all of our weapons that we're going to discuss with this is safety. Another grenade style that you can use to carry on your gear or for table decorations in the future when we're doing tables is smoke grenades. We can actually slap an umbrella logo on this. We don't have to slap anything on it, but this looks fairly real. I actually think this was at one time a functioning one. This is actually a dummy round now. It's been changed up. And this final one, this is a lot better for your costume. It's a little plastic sucker. It's tiny. It doesn't weigh a lot. It's not going to weigh you down. Remember, you're going to be in your costumes a lot, which is something you want to think about is weight, carry, and comfort. The next thing we're going to talk about guns, because guns are important. This is not a gun that we can use. If you come to an event with this, we're going to send you home. This is terrible. Why am I... What's wrong with you people?
Run for your life! I'll cover you!
That didn't happen. We always practice safe gun handling techniques. Always. They're airsoft, they're Nerf, they're fake. Always practice with safe gun handling techniques. So, with a real gun now, please. One of the things that we have here are some of our pistols. This is 1911. This is an airsoft. And I don't know if you guys have noticed yet, there's kind of a trend that's going to be going on with all of these. It's this little orange tip. We need these on everything because we don't want to get shot while we're at a convention, walking to a convention, or walking from a convention. A lot of us are medics, and a lot of us don't want to work while we're on our vacation. Because believe it or not, we do consider it a vacation. Some more examples of guns that you can use. This one's a little more interesting. It's a little bit bigger. It's got a big suppressor on it, you know. Maybe you're doing something that's maybe you're doing a covert thing. You're doing a more of an assassin or a recon. You want something like that. Again, proper gun safety at all times. We don't want to point these at our friends or anybody like that, especially if we're doing a photograph. One of the primary things that I'm going to show you guys today is when you're taking a picture, it's okay, kind of keep it aimed out of the way. I personally never point a gun at people. I don't feel comfortable doing it. I've had photographers that have straight up come up to me, grabbed the barrel of this thing and pointed it right into their camera because that's what they want done. And I'm never comfortable doing it. That's entirely up to you, but remember, treat every weapon as if it's loaded, even if it's an airsoft. This is another example of one of the pistols. See, you get a little more flash on some of these, a little more decoration. Again, there's that orange tip. This is one that you guys can get a hold of out there. Maybe not this one. I think they've got a newer one out there that's a little more expensive that's gas blowback. I know one or two of our guys have them. This was the original one that they made a long time ago. This is actually the RPD special. This is the Stars special for the RPD. This is made by the Kendo Custom Shop, which you probably can't see on this. It says Stars RPD on the side. This was actually the gun of the original video game that was made. There's a couple of different replicas out there. This is one of the old Springers, one of the very first ones that was ever actually made. And you don't want to be one of those big guys that carries the big gun. Can't go wrong with the Desert Eagle. This is a pretty classic, hefty 50 caliber bullet. This is what I carry on my thigh when I'm in my heavy unit. Like I just said, the one thing that we don't do, we don't have a black tip. I want it orange all the time. There's different ways to do it. You can paint it. You can wrap tape around it. There's all kinds of things. This is another Desert Eagle. This one, it's no-go. One of the ways to do this is with tape. Yay! That being said, some of the examples of things that you can get, these are $5 pistols. You can get these. And you know what? When you pull them out of the box, they look terrible. They're plastic. They're just awful. They look like toys. They've got a bunch of stuff. But if you notice, we've got that orange tip on the end. But you can then take this and you can paint it, mod it, make it make it look a little better with darker coloring, make it look a little more real and a little less plastic. We're going to go up to the bigger guns now. We're going to start with some of the assault rifles. Some of the assault rifles that we have, this is a G36. This is a pretty heavyweight and substantial firearm in our group. And if you notice, one of the things on it is the umbrella decal right on the receiver. It's just an identifier. Again, don't go crazy with the umbrella symbols and put them on absolutely everything, but one right here on your receiver is a pretty good idea. It's kind of showing that you've got company property in your hand. Another example of the big guns is going to be this heavyweight monster. This would probably be what a lot of people would consider to be a sniper rifle, but it's actually more of a DMR. Now, us being genetically modified super soldiers, this is a specialty weapon for an average human being. This is a normal weapon for us. This is something that we're just able to carry, wield around, and train with. This would be a standard field weapon for us. It's probably about a DMR, a designated marksmanship rifle. It's got a suppressor, a scope. It's a mid-range weapon. It helps you shoot to mid and far on the battlefield. It can switch between both purposes. This is something that you'd probably use a little bit more on the standard field. Again, there's that umbrella logo right there. But this would be a standard fare for the field. This is a SIG. You've got the foregrip. We could start talking about customizing foregrips, suppressors, things like that go on all of these weapons. Again, action safe. Always treat them like they're loaded. Got foldable stocks. Standard battlefield ops, guys. The next thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to weapons is the fun stuff. We're actually going to talk about Nerf guns. This is a Nerf gun. It's big, it's yellow, it doesn't work. But if you mod them and you make them different, it does work. This was I think this was a Stampede. That's what it used to be. One of our guys, he cut the tail rail off that goes into here. He used a little bit of Bondo to fill that in, to seal it up. You want to make sure all your pieces and parts are closed up. You see, that's probably where it says Nerf on it right there, I'd wager to guess, but he's Bondoed over that to make it a hidden thing. And then you sand it all down and you hit it with a load of paint and you've got yourself a weapon. Then, just like any of the other guns, you can attach longer barrels, bigger scopes, optics, night sights, all kinds of stuff, and you've got what looks like a pretty heavy standard gun. This would pretty much be an example of a specialty weapon for us, because it probably fires something a little bit bigger than your standard 223, 556, or 7.62. An example of that is this. This is actually a Nerf gun. This was a Nerf Vulcan. This was modified by Jason Hamilton, call sign Cash. He gave it a little bit of a light setup on it, and he put a laser sight on the front. He's extended the barrel by using PVC. We need to paint this, but you see what the point is that now we have this large, gigantic gun. If you see right there, some of the details that get put into this that you can put into it too is he took the actual Nerf casings and he put bullet casings into the back of it so that it looks like it's an actual spent shell. This thing would probably be a 50 caliber, if not a little bit bigger. And it's going to be modified even further as one of the standard heavyweight cannons for this group. These are just a few examples of the guns that we use. You don't have to have these. You can make other things. We've got members that use bow and arrows and all kinds of other crazy things. It's whatever your imagination can use. We've seen machetes and war hammers and all kinds of axes and stuff that go with it. All of them are acceptable as long as you have a reason for carrying them and you have a primary firearm to go with them. You'll do just fine. Again, those are the examples of some of our ideas. That's about all I have for weapons. So in a few minutes here, Longbow is going to rejoin me and we're going to start talking about the light armor, and then we'll go on up to heavy. Alright guys, welcome back. We're going to talk about light armor now, and we've got Longbow back with me, Evan Morgan. He's wearing some of the lighter armor that we carry. This is technically Milsurp stuff. Most of this you can get airsoft grade or you can get military grade. The bigger and better you get, the more expensive it's going to get. That's the only thing. He's actually wearing a plate carrier vest right now, And if you'll notice, he's got mag pouches here. Put your hands down for me. He's got mag pouches, and he's actually doing some real good authenticity with this gear. He's got spare mags for his weapons. Looks like we've got a flashlight up here. And then right here, we actually have one of his dosage meters right here. He's got a canister that allows him to attach a hose. This will attach to a mask later or something like that. But this is an example of one of the ways to get your dosage while you're in your gear and attach it. If you want to spin around for me really quick. Alright, so some of the stuff that you see on the back of this gear, this is actually a waist belt. This is a back pouch. Inside of it, he's got, these are old C4 detonators actually that have been popped from when he was in the military, but what this works as is a prop, as Evan explained to me at one point. These would make great, I guess you could say, T-virus EpiPens. So just in case that trooper runs out of his dosage while he's in the field, and we got to get him before he gets infected, jack that thing into his leg and watch him turn back into one of us and a little less zombie. I hate losing guys. We got to shoot him in the head then. You can see on his back of his plate carrier, we've got an example of the of one of the name tapes, longbow here. Other things that go with light gear. We've got elbow pads that go with it. We've also got knee pads that you can get hold of. These are actually skater knee pads. Another thing, you can look at different Milsurp companies. You can look for Black Hawk, things like that. Evan, why don't you turn back around for us? You've got different versions of things. Some people are small. Our prop master here today, Rose, she's actually very small, so kids skater gear works for her. You really have to find out what works for you, but these are things that you want to put on your gear that really work on it. But when it comes to customizing your gear, you may not have to have the biggest and baddest armor, but you can also do things that make things interesting for your gear. For instance, when you scuff up your knee pad, or you could put something like scribble in place head here. Just strange things that you can add to stuff that really draw the eye and give the attention. If you think back to Vietnam when guys are running around carrying the peace sign and packed cigarettes and all the stuff in their helmets, that's kind of what we want to go for on our whole uniform. You want to have that appearance. It's kind of like being a G.I. Joe. We all look different, but we're all on the same team. And I am talking about the cartoon and not those terrible movies. Another thing that's incredibly important when you're wearing your gear light or heavy is boots. You want a comfortable pair of boots. Big, bad, whatever. You want a comfortable pair of boots. You want to have black tactical boots. You want to have something that you can wear all day, especially if we're doing a booth or something. Yeah, you're going to get breaks. If you're walking around at the con, you're going to have an opportunity to take them off and to sit down, but you want something that you can be comfortable in. I can't stress that enough. This is probably one of the most important parts of this costume because you will be on your feet a lot. Some of the other examples of vests that we have, I've got one right here. This is actually a harness style vest. And again, you can see it's full up of all kinds of interesting toys. We've got our pistol on front. We've got a radio on the side. These are all military pieces and parts that you need to carry with you. So while you've got some of these, this is much lighter and this is much smaller. It is doable. Like I said, you don't have to have the biggest and baddest armor, but you have to have gear that you can explain why you have it. You got a tactical combat knife on this, as a matter of fact, which is something else that everybody should have because you want to have a melee weapon in case you run out of ammo. You never know when you're going to be entrenched for a while. Alright, so while I've got you guys here on light gear, one of the things I was talking about earlier is like a prefab airsoft kind of vest. This is a version of that right there. This is actually just your standard battle vest that a lot of guys can get. It's got built-in mag pouches that are already sewed into it. You've got all kinds of different pouches. You've got bullet casings in case you're doing sniping, if you want to turn around. Evan's beefed this up a little bit by attaching climbing rope because you never know when you're going to need rope. And then he's filled out his back pouches. It does come with various back pouches, radio pouches, and things like this. This is a very standard vest. This is something you get. But again, if you get something like this, you don't have a lot of room to customize it and change it up very much. So that's something to think about when you're buying your gear. You want to make sure that you have room to continue to grow and evolve the character that you're building and that you want to be. We're going to be right back in just a second. We're going to show you some more examples of slightly more intermediate and heavier armor, and we're going to work our way all the way up to the top. Alright guys, so we're back with another kind of a vest. This is actually pretty much the same as what he was just wearing. It's a plate carrier, but it's a little bit thicker and a little bit bigger. This is actually built by a member named John Ficker, who used to work in the actual military industry of stitching these things. So every now and again he'll throw these things up on the board so you can get them. They're a little more expensive, but they look great. I want to talk about what's on this. This right now is what we would call blank canvas. This is a Molly rig vest. You can see that on front and back. It's got Molly rigs all over it, and you've got a lot of furniture for your patches on the sleeves with your Velcro, chest, back, and patches. But this is a little bit of a heavier duty vest. You can use this as kind of a, you want to turn around for me, you can use this as kind of an intermediate gear. You can still run with it for light gear even. The good thing about a vest like this with the MOLLE gear is it's pretty much a build your own platform. You don't have to get what you got at the store. You can go buy different things. You can do extra ammunition pouches along here. You can do a hydration pouch. You could even build a pouch that's got your T-Virus delivery system in it that attaches to a hose, to your mask, to whatever you want to do. A little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier. It's got a little cod piece. You don't want zombies biting you down there. So this is an intermediate vest, but you've got a lot of room to go with it. You got anything you want to add to that? How would you dress this out?
Depending on the mission or the role that the character that you're trying to portray is supposed to fill, as Alex touched on earlier, you want the gear and equipment on your vests or whatever you're wearing to be appropriate to that mission. If you're a sniper, you may or may not have a secondary firearm, which is typically going to be a pistol, but you may or may not have a long rifle such as an M4 or even an MP5. But if you're a sniper, you're not going to have rows of shotgun shells. Or if you're a door breacher, you're not going to have sniper rifle magazines.
Good points.
Exactly. And you don't want to throw stuff on here just to have it on here. It wants to actually serve a purpose.
Yeah, we're not tactical here. We're not trying to look like something we're not.
Correct. Most of the equipment that we want our stuff to look as legit as possible. And as so, you don't want to have 14 rifle grenade pouches on and then not have a rifle grenade launcher. So with that in mind, try to model your equipment accordingly. Look at my gear, look at Alex's gear, some of the other guys that are in the group.
It's a lot of gear out there to be looking at, guys. And remember, custom is the key. You can go a lot of directions from there.
Now, none of the gear that we have, you have to replicate. You don't have to look like myself or Alex or Adam or anybody else in the group, which is the nice thing about our group. You can make your gear your own as long as it makes sense.
Well, we're going to go up to the standard Centurion vest next, which is what a lot of other people use, and we're trying to actually kind of buff that look up next. So he'll be back in just a second with one of the ways that you can take something like hatch armor that everybody else uses and make it unique and custom to yourself. Alright, so one of the things that you see is kind of consistency inside of the films is hatch body armor. This is what the Centurions wear in the movies. Now you can play this very well into your characters. A lot of groups that are out there that are part of other umbrella groups, because we're not the only one, use this as part of their canon stuff that they have to wear. Now, since we're custom, there's all kinds of ways you can doll this up. Maybe you used to be a member of the UBCS, and when you were a part of that, we tested you for having the genetic markers, and we decided to pull you over into the 219th, and of course the rest is history. Now you're a brainwashed psycho killer that works for the company that nobody talks about. But, excuse me, but let's look at this, this hatch armor. This is standard riot gear. This is real riot gear that you can buy on eBay and in all kinds of places. But this stuff's been dolled up a little bit. Again, this is another piece that was done by John Ficker, or Lone Wolf as he is on the boards. You've got a set of straps so you can carry your weapon on you and a one-point harness. You've got lots of this Velcro furniture so you can put your name tapes, and your ID badges and everything that you want on it. But he's added a nice MOLLE system down here so you can attach all kinds of other accoutrements, bullets, or excuse me, mag pouches and things like that if you want to spin around. It's got a really beefed up looking harness system on the back. It looks really tough. It looks really cool. Again, this is a customized version of something standard that you see everybody else wearing. We don't want to be everybody else. We want to look a step above them. So if you've got this kind of gear, why not start thinking about cool things you can do to it? One of the things you might want to do, maybe you add bigger, beefier shoulder pads or pop this collar so you've got a bulletproof neck plate. Anything like that. These are all ideas. Another thing that I hadn't touched on earlier that's very important for us to have, light or heavy, are gloves. You'll notice that Evan's wearing these knuckleback gloves that are pretty tough there, but there's different types of gloves that you can wear. I think Evan has these on every single pair. He's got these hard knuckles, but you can wear half-finger gloves, which I like to use. You can use different ones like these. Again, I think these are a pair of ripstops or, whose are these? Which ones are these?
Rothko.
Those are Rothkos? Those are pretty nice. You can use Rothko, and he's got a pair of mechanics gloves on him. Standard mechanics gloves are used by a lot of military groups out there now, and I use 2 different pairs of them in my gear. Another thing that's going to go with the Centurion, though, that makes your gear a little bit bigger are these leg plates. They go down onto the shins and of course the knees. It's a bigger way to do the knee pad. Now you don't have to do these just if you're a Centurion. You can incorporate these into your light gear, you can incorporate these into your heavy gear, but look at all the space on this thing. There's so much room for modification, and we encourage you to do that. Maybe you want to drill some spikes into there, or drill a spike into the kneecap or something like that, make it a little bit tougher, something you can boot somebody. Put an arrow that says place head here going down to your boot. There's all kinds of things that you can do. I'm going to stress this customization very, very heavily because we want to get away from that standard military look and kind of show that we do cool things. So, that being said, we're going to get away from the Centurion. I'm sure we could probably add a clip in here somehow to where a regular Centurion looked in the films, so you can get an idea of that and what to avoid. You can see the difference between that plain hatch vest versus some of the other extra things that have been added to this. Again, you've got a blank canvas, guys. Paint a pretty picture. We'll be back in just a second, and we're going to start talking about the heavy armor. Alright guys, so now we're back and we've got the heavy armor on us. I'm going to give you guys a bits and pieces show of my heavy armor. I was hoping to have another person here today that was going to have their full suit and wear that and just wear that today so we could show that, but he wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. So we're going to use my heavy armor. Evan's going to model it. I've only got him on part of it right now. You'll see other parts of it. This is actually a Tactical Force speed vest that's been modified. All of this armor that's my personal heavy armor has not been made by myself, but has been made again by Josh Cole at Hex Mortis Design Syndicate, who does a great job at anything. It's very pricey to do it if you want stuff like that, but it's a route that you can go if you want to go that way, and you get a custom, one-of-a-kind, unique, awesome suit for yourself. This used to be an airsoft speed vest. If you remember Transformers 3, they had them on the Nest guys in the film. He took this and he attached a whole new layer of it. This is all EVA foam, so this is super, super squishy and super, super light. I've got my nameplate right here and my small umbrella. Again, see, subtlety works for you. You don't have to have a billion patches to get the point across. When somebody sees something like this walking at them, they're going to get nervous. Now, if you'll step here to your side, I'll show you. We've got a set of we've got the shoulder pauldrons up here. They have my number on it, 07. We don't always encourage numbers. It was just kind of something we fooled around with in the beginning, because everybody ends up wanting the same number. But we have here a shoulder bell, if you will, or a bicep piece, and then we've got a forearm piece that we've got, and all of this stuff is made out of EVA foam. So if you're feeling crafty and you want to work on something, that's the way to go. It's lightweight, it's squishy, you can really hear it, and you can hit it. The right paint job will add the right metallic scheme to it to make it tough. Now you're going to notice one of the things about Evan here is that he's having a little bit of trouble with it, because I normally wear an Under Armour shirt with this. Now, that brings us to a point that no matter what you're wearing, your shirt's going to be important, and it's going to make your gear more comfortable. But it's entirely up to you. You can wear an operator shirt if you want. Those come with built-in Velcro patches on the sleeves. You can wear a tank top if you can pull it off and you feel like that's the right thing you want to do. But again, everything's got to be black. With my light gear, I just wear a t-shirt underneath. Plain black t-shirt, and that's it. So, that being said, when you're wearing something like this, you don't want to run around with your arms all exposed. You want to have bigger, better filling in of the spaces and stuff like that. Some of the other stuff that goes with this armor, this is actually a foot piece, or excuse me, not a foot piece. This is a shin guard that I have. Again, this is all EVA foam. It weighs nothing. It's super light. It's easy. You can see on the inside. It just straps around. You could go with any kinds of ways that you want to do this. You're going to find a way that works for you best. But this really speaks volumes for what customization is. When this group really got started with some of the guys that are in here, Ripper, who's Adam Gilly, we really spent a lot of time kicking around ideas for making bigger, heavier troopers. And just because you are a heavy trooper doesn't mean you have to have the massive cannon that goes with it. Because he and I do. That was kind of our personas at the time. But you can carry an assault rifle. You can carry whatever you want with it as long as it makes sense to it. I wouldn't suggest going any lower than an assault rifle. You look goofy if you're running around with a little Uzi. But if you've got an assault rifle, it'll work just as well with this. We're drugged up super soldiers. Why not have the best gear in the world? Besides, your character, after being here for a while, would have started to realize you're tangling with big bad monsters in the Resident Evil universe. In the light stuff, you may be quick, but it hurts when you get hit. One of the things, of course, you saw earlier, kind of the piece de resistance that goes with our heavy suits, is our helmet. And your face is everything. I'm going to come back to that. Your face is everything in your gear. You know, if you don't want to wear a mask, or if you can't wear a mask for medical reasons, get some collodion makeup and do some scar work on your face. Add some stuff like that. Don't be afraid to go the extra mile and to show off who you are and your talents and your skills and all kinds of things like that. We like to cover our faces. I like to cover my face. I'm not a very pretty guy. Evan needs to cover his face. He's not a very pretty. Look at that. Doesn't that look great? That looks much better. Now that his face isn't it. No. All joking aside, these pieces, these headpieces tend to actually turn out to kind of be the centerpiece of stuff. And you want your armor to actually be the centerpiece of everything that you do, because it shows off and it works well with what you're doing. So when you're building something and when you're building something up, bigger doesn't always mean better, but don't be afraid to go for something that's really heavily armored if you want to have a heavy armored look to you. Something harder, something tougher, something like, you know, any of these things. You can do the hatch gear. That can be built up on. Some of these speed vests can be built up on. The key to this, that's going to be the most important part that I'm going to continue to stress, is customization. You've got to do it. You can look at all kinds of different people on our private page. We've got documents, files, and photograph groups that show different things. Just because I have a couple of heroes in there from the BSAA doesn't mean that you can't emulate it. They're customized guys wearing harnesses, specific loadout sets for them. You can feel free to do the same thing. You don't have to be, again, the biggest, baddest guy at the ball, but you have to have something that's unique and speaks for your character. We'll be back in just a second with some principles and standards that we use in the 219th to make sure that we're composing ourselves with proper etiquette while we're at a convention and representing this group. Alright guys, so now we're going to get to our final part of this video. We're going to discuss principles and standards, which I think is a pretty good term for the things that we need to do to remember and focus on when we're doing a convention. The 219th is growing. It is an evolving group. It started as a group of friends, it became a group of costumers, and it's slowly working its way into a fairly serious club. And as we get closer and closer to that, to where people want us to come to their conventions, which we've already done several, and we've got more coming up, I guarantee you that. One day we're going to be at the big leagues, but we need to know how to compose ourselves while we're there. Of course, you're probably thinking, why is this guy telling me this if you know me? So, I'm going to make this simple. 1, always act professionally and courteously to people that are out there. Remember, while we're at our booth or at our table, we're trying to accept donations so that we can do good for a better cause. Usually we work with military charities because we have a lot of former military people, and let's face it, that's who we emulate. So we want to help them out and help the people that do that. And to do that, we need to get money from the people that are at the conventions, and the only way to do that is to be professional and to be courteous. Don't be afraid to talk to people while you're at a booth. Ask them how their convention's going and invite them to come over. It draws them in, it makes them look at things, and then while you're there, just tell them what we're here for and what we're doing. So you can slide that donation question in. 2, when you're doing pictures, try to be pretty professional and military with things, and it's always onto that trigger that trigger discipline that's going to come up. Don't keep your fingers on the trigger. Every gun is loaded. Keep that finger off that trigger. And orange tips, always. And of course, don't point the gun at anybody unless they're directly asking for it. And I mean, hey, yeah, point this at me. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, tell them you don't feel comfortable doing that. That's okay. Next, and most importantly, no drinking at conventions. If the 219th is representing itself and hosting panels, as we've begun to do, and or hosting a table while we're at a convention, you can't drink there. I know a lot of us are partiers and we came from different groups and things like that where we like to party. I'm pretty guilty of it myself. I've even been caught breaking my own rules before we had made them. But the fact is, we don't need to do that anymore. So, when you're at a convention, if you've got a flask on you or something like that, sneak off, have a nip. I don't mind that. That's not a big deal. But if you are caught acting in an intoxicated manner in any way, shape, or form, you can be asked to leave. And we will enforce that at all times. Given all these things that we've asked for, that's pretty much it. And we're going to come back with some thanks in just a second. Alright guys, that's about all we have to say for this video. Of course, the most important parts are we're here to have fun, and don't forget that. This is a fun group. That's what we want to do. Before we go, I want to say thanks to a few people. I want to say thanks to Rose Myers. She's our public relations agent. She's going to help us get in touch with a lot of different conventions and things like that. And I want to thank Evan Morgan here, because he was a stand-up act helping me out with everything, and he's actually a pretty big part of taking on point of contact at different events. I also want to give a big thanks to Terry Sorge, who has videotaped this and who is going to be doing all of the editing and make us look very professional in this video. My biggest thanks is going out to all of you guys, because this group doesn't exist without you, and we're really glad that you took the time to want to be a part of this, and we hope that this video helps you and inspires you and makes you want to be a part of this even deeper and further, and to help grow the brand or the name that is the 219th, so that we can become a bigger and better entity. So thank you so much from everybody, from where we came from to where we're going. We appreciate you.
See you next time.